Hi everyone, thanks for coming back to my channel. So for today's video, I have picked up the question number 262 from the LeetCode, and this question is categorized as hard. So in this question, we need to find out the cancellation rate either by driver or client with some given conditions. Let's look at the question. So in this question, we have this table called trips, and trips has bunch of fields like ID, client ID, driver ID, and city ID. And in this table, ID column is acting as a primary key for this table. And then we have another table that is called users. And in this table, we have three columns: user ID, band, and role. Now let's look at the data. Okay, so this is the data set. This is like two data set, one for trips and second for users. So in the first data set, we have the records for each of the ride, and we also have the client ID and the driver, like who drove that ride, and then the date on which the ride was requested at. And then in the user table, we have the list of user ID, which is nothing but the list of client ID and the driver ID with their respective role. So the user can be a client and the user can be a driver. With that, we also have this additional information banned. Some users, they are banned. So if certain users are banned, then we don't have to include them while we are finding out the cancellation rate. All right, let's read through the question, and then we will see the data in more detail and how to theoretically calculate the percentage of cancellation. So the question says the cancellation rate is computed by dividing the number of cancelled by client or driver requests with unbanned user by the total number of requests with unbanned users on that day. So we have to write a SQL query to find out the cancellation rate of request with unbanned user. Both client and driver must not be banned each day between 1st of October and 3rd of October. And we also have to round the cancellation rate to 2 decimal point. And we can return the result in any order. Okay, so here's the explanation. If we just look at the date 2013 10/01, there are 4 requests in total, right? And 2 of which were cancelled. And one cancellation happened by driver, second cancellation happened by client. However, the request with ID 2 was made by a banned client, which is user ID 2, so it is ignored in the calculation. Hence, there are 3 unbanned requests in total, and one of which was cancelled. So, in this data set, we are only counting the record, first record, third record, and fourth record. We're not counting the second record because the second user is banned. And out of the remaining 3 records, there is only one write which got cancelled, and that was cancelled by client, but rest 2 they were completed. So here the calculation will happen if we divide 1 by total number of ride, because one is the number of ride which got cancelled, and total number of ride is 3. So 1 divided by 3, and that would give us 0.33. Same way you can calculate on the 2nd of October and 3rd of October. I think just iterating through one example should be enough. Let's write down the query. Okay, so we will first write the query on the user table. And while picking up the record, no, we don't have to start with the user table, we have to start with the trip table. So while picking up the record from the trips table, we have to remove those users which are banned, either as a client or as a driver. So we can put the where condition here, select star from trips, where client ID not in, select user ID from users, where band equal to yes. And also driver ID not in the same inner query. All right, so this would give us all the record except for those records where either client or the driver ID is banned. And there was another condition in the question is we have to calculate for each day between the 1st of October and 3rd of October. So let's only pick up those records from the trip table, and we can put that condition as well here in the query. So my query would be request at between this record and 3rd of October. All right, so this will give us the desired rows from the trips table depending on the conditions. Now we have to calculate the number of record where we have the cancellation either by driver or by client. Let's do that, and that we will find out using the window function. So in order to suppose like if we are iterating through these 4 record, right, and out of 4 record we know that we are not picking up the second record, so finally we have 3 record, and when we are iterating through these 3 record, we have to find out the count of record which were cancelled by either driver or the client. One way to find out that is like we can replace all the instances where the ride was cancelled by 1, and then we can take a sum of all those instances. Let's do that using the window function. So we can use the sum function, and inside sum we can use case when status like cancelled, right? So either we can use the full string, or we can just use the like operator and search anything which starts with cancelled. If the status is like cancelled, then 1, else 0, and we can end this case. So we are taking the sum of all the instances where the status is like cancelled, and then we have to perform this over, since we are using the window function we have to use the over syntax, and then we have to partition this, the spelling is wrong, and we have to partition this by request at. So this piece of code will give me the sum of all the instances on the same date where the ride was cancelled by either driver or by client. Now we have to divide this number by total number of ride requests by unbanned users. So, and that count we can get by using the same window function over partition by request at. So over PARTIT partition by request at, and let's call this as cancellation rate because that's how we have to show in the final output. Let's also get the request at column. Let's try to run this and see if this is running or not. Okay, so runtime error. Let's try to format this so that it will be easy to spot if there is any syntax error. So this is my first column, this is the first part of the query, second part, case syntax looking good, over by partition also looks good. This is my trip table, and not in condition looks good, request add between, how about the inner query, select user ID from users from band. Okay, so this is the user table. Okay, I know. So I think the column name is incorrect, it's users ID. So these are the things which can throw you off in the interview. Let's correct this and run it. Okay, so it's giving me something. Yeah, so it's giving me the cancellation rate, and for each of the date we just have to make it distinct so that we will get we'll get the cancellation rate for each of the date, and then we also have to round the cancellation rate to the 2 decimal places. We can do that using round function. Just wrap the round function around the whole expression, and we can use the distinct function, distinct keyword. Okay, so this is, let's compare it with the result. Okay, so the column name is not matching. We can call the request at as day and then run again. Now our solution is accepted and we are getting the same result as the expectation, and we can submit the answer. So nice, our answer is accepted, and I think it's running across all the other use cases. Let's go back to description. Alright, so this is one solution using the window function. Many times in the interview, the interviewer asks to solve the same problem without using the window function. So let's try to rewrite this query using without window function. So if we are not using the window function, then we will use the group by function. That function is like known as the aggregate function in the SQL world. So let's remove few codes from here. The where condition is going to remain same because we are not going to pick up the records which are banned, and also the records where request at does not fall into this time window. Since we are using the group by function, let's use the group by clause, and we are going to do the group by on the request at column, and we will take the sum of This expression will be pretty similar to the previous query. So let's write that down. Sum of, and then we'll use the case when uh, where's the record? Okay, so when status like cancelled, then 1, else 0, and we can end this case, and we can divide that by count of record. So and let's name this column as cancellation rate. All right, so we are only going to count, or we are only going to sum the digit 1 where there is a cancellation on the write request, and we can round this number 2 decimal places, comma 2. And I think that's it. Okay, so this solution is accepted. Let's submit the solution. All right, I think we are good with this solution as well. Let's go back to description. Okay, so let's just recap couple of things what we did in this query or in the previous query. So many times there's a need of calculating the total number of record depending on certain condition, but when you don't have supporting data or supporting fields in the given data set, we can make up some data and we can do the aggregation on top of it. And that's what we did, like when we had to find out how many records that were cancelled on certain day. So what we did is, like, based on that certain condition, we decided that we're gonna call that instance as one, and then whenever we have that instance, we will just sum it up, right? So this is one technique we use like across so many different kind of situation, and it's quite handy. Other than that, we have used both the approach, the window function approach and the aggregate function approach, to solve this. I think we are good with this solution. Thanks a lot for watching the video. Please subscribe to my channel for more SQL videos and leave a comment or question if anyone has.